Shia LaBeouf, you have to hide the Allspark in your prison wallet.
It's a classic. Hello, everybody.
It's our own classic.
Welcome back to Real Talks and High Fives. Happy Movie Monday. Today we're going to be going over the 1986 Transformers the movie.
It was the worst thing I've ever seen. It sucked and I hated it.
All right, bye. But yeah, it's a movie from my childhood. I used to watch it all the time as a kid. It's very classic in my opinion.
It's very charming for
It's
sure.
got so much 1980s charm. It makes me happy to watch. So yeah, I showed Seth because our original plan was to show him that movie and then show him Transformers: The Last Knight and talk about why it ruined it. But we didn't have time for that, so we just decided to watch The Last Knight and then watch this one, and it was good.
I don't really see the correlations that much between, like, except for like a couple of the characters and then like the Unicron thing.
Yeah, plot points, that kind of thing.
And they didn't really match up that much, like, anyway.
Yeah, no, that's the problem.
That's yes, I see that.
So yeah, you want to give a spoiler-free review first?
Yeah, had a lot of charm. I really don't want to bash it because it's Logan's favorite movie, but
Not my favorite movie.
you really like it. But a lot of the animation was really stiff. The sound effects were just atrocious. The sound effects were, it was almost funny. And then
yeah, and I completely agree with that, and I don't hate that because I have that same complaint. But at the same time, I also kind of give it a pass because it's the 1980s.
Yeah, I mean, the sound effects had no reason to be that bad. The animation maybe a little, and I get the lip sync was kind of weird. I don't know if it was originally in a different language.
I believe it was originally Japanese.
Yeah, the lip syncing was kind of weird. It was kind of boring to me. I did. This is our second time watching it today because I fell asleep the first time.
True.
Which isn't necessarily the movie's fault. I was having a rough day.
Yeah, and you got all cozy on the couch.
Yeah, then I fell asleep. But I'd say it's worth a watch. I'd definitely say it's worth a watch.
Yeah. All right. So at this point, if you don't want any spoilers, go away.
I mean, you have your own review. Or you're just not gonna.
Oh well, I mean,
I guess you like it.
Yeah. So, yeah, after this point, don't watch if you haven't seen it. Go watch it. Have you watched it yet? Good. Welcome back. How was it? Did you like it? I like it. So, first and foremost, I did watch this movie a ton when I was a kid. It was one of my favorites growing up.
The soundtrack was good too.
My dad watched it growing up, and he was a huge Transformers fan when he was growing up. The original cartoon, which is like that movie, I believe that movie came after the original cartoon aired. So yeah, my dad watched it or liked it when he was a kid, and then so growing up, we watched a lot of the stuff that he enjoyed when he was a kid, and so he showed us that, and I loved it ever since I was a kid. The soundtrack makes me happy.
It's a very, very feel-good soundtrack.
I listen to it a lot in the car. It's got Stan Bush.
You've got the touch.
Oh yeah. Lion does the themes. It's just a bunch of 80s rock and pop rock, and I love it.
It's got really a lot of synths, a lot of heavy dun, dun, dun.
And that's not even really my thing. 80s pop rock and rock isn't really my thing. But just because those songs are from that movie and they make me think of that movie, I love listening to them. I've been listening to them in my car a lot. It just makes me feel happy. So yeah, the soundtrack is great. Even the songs that aren't the 80s rock songs or the regular instrumental songs that they have are really good. The scene when Optimus dies. The Optimus's death song is very, very good.
It reminds me a lot of the old Dragon Ball movies when they'd put really awesome music. Mm-hmm. Which I think they only did that for 4 of the movies.
Yeah.
But it was still awesome in every one they did it in.
The Cooler movie had Deftones in it and stuff like that, which was really rad. But yeah, so the soundtrack is grade A on that movie, on this movie. I love it. So the story, getting into why I love the story.
Yeah, you'll have to talk about that because I do not remember.
I love the characters a lot. Hot Rod was one of my favorites growing up. Before anybody cared about Bumblebee, I was all about the Hot Rod, man. He was super rad. And he's got a whole arc where he's kind of he's not supposed to be the next in line. He's not the strongest or anything like that, but he's got spunk
He's got heart.
And then in the end, he develops more, and then he becomes Rodimus Prime, which I know you think is a hilarious name. It is pretty funny.
It's so funny to me.
But yeah, in the end, he's the, he's the foretold one.
Can you give me your Rodimus Prime?
Yeah, I just loved him as a character. I always loved him more than I loved Bumblebee, and that's why when
Bumblebee doesn't really play much of a part at all in this movie.
he does more in the cartoon.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then that's why in Transformers: The Last Night, when they turned Hot Rod, like when I first saw the concept images, I was like, oh my god, Hot Rod's gonna be in it. He's like a Lamborghini. It's gonna be so lit. And then when I watched the movie, he was French and he was a joke, and he played no real role in the movie, and it really upset me.
Hey. We're reviewing this movie.
I know.
We already did a review of that.
I told you I want to talk about why the parts of this movie that I loved that The Last Night ruined. I couldn't talk about that last time because
I hadn't seen it yet. You're right.
So yeah, Hot Rod he's a great character. I love him. Ultra Magnus, he's really cool. He's the one that looks like Optimus Prime, who was supposed to be the next Prime, but he couldn't open the Matrix. Yeah.
Okay. Now that makes sense.
He was intentionally resembled Optimus.
Okay, because that confused me.
It was I guess the whole point was to show that you don't have to be this strong leader to be somebody important, I guess, because Hot Rod wasn't a super strong leader. He wasn't like Optimus, but he still made a difference.
He was a cool guy.
Yeah. He was. It's basically you don't have to be conventionally, a type to be important, which I like that. It's a little underlying theme in the movie. So yeah, Ultra Magnus is cool. RC is super cool. That's the girl, the pink one.
Yeah, she is cool.
She's cool.
I have a crush on her.
They ruined her in, I believe, the third Transformers movie, I want to say. They made her... There was multiple of her, and they all transformed into motorcycles, and I believe they were bad guys.
That sounds kind of cool, but they probably weren't executed well in that movie.
Yeah, and they also, didn't talk or have personality.
There was two humans in the movie.
Yes.
And, I don't know.
Spike and Daniel.
They don't really matter.
Father and son. They don't.
I guess they needed, a kid to draw audiences, and you couldn't really have a robot kid.
I guess so. Because, they sort of matter. Because, the stuff that, Spike almost sacrifices himself to try to blow up,
But, there's no...
And it gives Hot Rod and Daniel both, it gives Hot Rod a bit more motivation.
Have, yeah.
It's, the fact that Hot Rod and Daniel are close kind of gives Hot Rod more motivation to go out and fight.
But, the fact that they're human really has nothing to do with their character.
Not really. It would be weird, because they do have minicons, which are smaller Transformers, but they're not, kids, quote-unquote. So it would have been weird if it was not a human boy.
Yeah.
Going into... That's another thing, Daniel and Spike. Spike is actually Sam Witwicky, who is Shia LaBeouf's character in the new ones. I believe that's confirmed.
Which, that's cool, I guess.
Yeah, it does. Which I'm sure, it was probably oh, this is a movie that people liked when they were kids about Transformers. Let's just take one of the characters and just give him the same name, but not anything else be the same. Because he doesn't have a kid named Daniel at any point, and Shia LaBeouf was still 20-something when he made that movie. So 2007, he must have been
yeah, he probably was
21 maybe.
Probably mid-20s or something. I don't know how old Shia LaBeouf is. He's crazy.
He is very crazy. But yeah, and so it's just, I guess in the first Transformers movie, the 2007 one, they probably were just oh, it's gonna be a callback. So there's that, which is cool. But let's see, what's another good character? I love Blur. He's the one that talks really fast and moves really fast.
And that's his thing. He talks fast.
That's his thing. But it's a charming
Oh yeah,
it's a funny thing.
Yeah, I like it.
And it's just it's one of those things that doesn't matter, but it's still cool.
Except for for the part when Magnus died, he's oh, Magnus dead. What?
Yeah.
And I'm like, well,
yeah, that's true.
Someone else definitely should have said those lines.
Something that I was that I kind of thought weird when I was a kid was the guy who plays Megatron. He plays Megatron when he's Megatron, and then when he turns into Galvatron, he's played by Leonard Nimoy, which is weird, but kind of cool.
It's not that weird,
I guess. But he's still technically Megatron. He's just upgraded.
Cooler and better.
Yeah, he's Megatron, but better.
But Galva, whatever that means.
But yeah, Galvatron, I think he's a super rad. He was cool. I always thought he was cool.
He looks really cool. He's got a nice design.
I want to say I want to say in the new age of Transformers live action movies, they tried something to do with Galvatron, but they didn't do it right. The Transformers, the new ones, have a horrible track record of taking things from the old cartoons and like just ruining them. Yeah, I accidentally bumped the table with my finger.
Is that what that was?
Yeah, see, anytime you touch this table, it'll like just ruin the microphone.
We need to get a sturdier table for sure.
Yeah. But anyways, so yeah, Galvatron, he's super rad. And one thing I liked about this movie, like as a kid, was I grew up watching like Transformers Armada and Transformers Cybertron and Transformers Energon. Those were three like cartoon series that came out in the early 2000s when I was growing up.
I feel like I have a vague memory of those.
And like, you know, in those it was like very much like, oh, Optimus is definitely the main character, but in this one Optimus Prime dies like really early on.
He dies real fast.
Yeah. And I don't know, I always kind of like that, even though I love Optimus as a character. I think he's like one of the coolest Transformers. I think it's cool that they showed that he doesn't have to be the main focus. Let's see, Unicron. I'm going to talk about Unicron now.
Okay.
The Last Night ruined him.
Yeah.
They ruined him horribly. And because they set him up to be in the next movie. He didn't have to have anything to do. They didn't
because
have to.
Earth is Unicron in the movie, isn't it? Yeah.
And they didn't have to set that up. They didn't have to set up a sequel and be like, because when you look at The Last Night, overall, the whole fact that Earth is Unicron plays a very, very minor role in the sense that the only reason that Quintessa was trying to bring Cybertron to Earth was so Cybertron and Unicron could fight. But it was stupid. Mm-hmm. So really, they just ruined Unicron. They also kind of ruined Cybertron. And the Quintessons. The Quintessons were like the Transformer, or the one with the multiple faces that was like the king or the head of the court. Mm-hmm. I want to say he's a Quintesson, and that's what Quintessa, the weird robot chick from The Last Night, is based off of.
Doesn't Quinn mean 5?
I don't know. Quintessons are just they're like a weird, like, I think they're like a subsection of Transformers.
Well, there's 5 faces, wasn't there?
Yeah, something like that. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so she was based off of that. That's why her name is Quintessa. But they just completely goofed that, as they goof multiple things. So yeah, I don't know, man. I love this movie. Even though sometimes the animation is really choppy, but it's the 1980s. I have to give it a pass, you know. It's just, there's something about it that I will always love, and the fact that, like, after watching The Last Night, seeing them, even like earlier on in the second movie, they had the Matrix of Leadership, but they screwed that up. They had Devastator, who was a super cool Transformer in the cartoons and in this movie. The big orange one that, like, a bunch of different... Yeah. Or not orange, he's green and purple. Yeah, a bunch of different small... Or they're called the Constructicons. And they're a bunch of different construction, vehicles. And they all formed to make Devastator. And he's super cool. But they ruined him in Transformers Revenge of the Fallen. They're just, like... They have a history of ruining things. And it really upsets me. Because I loved that movie when I was a kid. And I still do love that movie.
I can tell.
It brings me a lot of joy to watch it. Overall, like a plot overview, I guess. Basically, like, there's Unicron is coming. He wants to destroy Cybertron because he eats planets, and that's what, like, fuels him. And the Megatron and the Decepticons are trying to there's, in their regular war with the Autobots or whatever, as Unicron is coming. And so the Autobots are trying to stop the Decepticons from taking over, and then they just find out that Unicron is coming, and there's the Matrix of Leadership, which is this ancient artifact that's like the only thing that can like stop Unicron. And then, Megatron gets beaten up real bad, and then he gets sent to, or like he flies out into space, and he gets sent to Unicron.
There's that really funny scene where they're like, Megatron's dead. We have to fly him out to space. And Megatron's like, I'm still alive. And he's like, okay. And he throws him out into space.
Throws him out of Astro Train. And then, Megatron comes back as Galvatron, and now he's Unicron's minion. And then he just blows up Starscream's head. Super cool. And then they're just trying to get the Matrix back so they can defeat Unicron. But Megatron, or Galvatron, wants the Matrix for himself so he can control Unicron. So it's a really good. I liked it a lot. There were definitely, I mean, it is definitely like 1980s. Like there's some 1980s like cringe in there for sure, where it's just like, you know, the typical like, oh, it's the destiny. Like, yeah,
You've got the touch.
But it's just it's so charming that I give it a pass in everything, and it's not even necessarily just because it's from my childhood. It's just like, it's because of the charm. It's because I mean, it still has charm even.
Yeah, I
today.
definitely liked it. I liked it. I mean, it was a little boring. The plot was a little hard to follow.
Yeah, but I mean, like, and that's my thing is like back in the 1980s. Cartoon it's really hard to make it was really hard to make good cartoon
Was that
action.
movie? Did that movie go to theaters? Was that a theater movie?
I'm pretty sure, yeah.
Interesting.
But it's like really hard to make good cartoon like action in the 1980s.
Oh yeah, for sure.
It was hard. It's hard to make things look fluid and you know. So it was definitely choppy, like you said when they transform.
Yeah.
It was like it's kind of choppy, and I get that.
Very very stiff.
But I think it's really good. I want to know like your thoughts like on different individual things. Like now, do you see kind of like the correlation between some things in the Last Night? And,
Yeah, like there was
why
Unicron and stuff. Which Unicron really. So is in the next movie is Earth going to turn into a big robot and fight Cybertron?
possibly
As cool as that would be.
if they make a next movie,
Yeah.
because not a lot of people like the Last Night.
It was just so boring.
It sucked.
Yeah.
as we've already talked about.
Yeah. The thing that always bothers me is there's always no reason. There was no reason that the Decepticons are like, we're gonna fight the Autobots.
Well, that kind of goes back to like the lore of
Yeah, and I
Transformers,
guess I don't really get that.
where like they both live on Cybertron, and it's basically like a civil war, and there's two factions, the Autobots and the Decepticons.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I
And
guess.
they're trying to fight because they like one of them, like they both want to rule
And then there's
Cybertron.
there was Autobot City on Earth.
Yeah, because
Which
the
was
Autobots
kind of weird.
They explain that in the cartoons.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, in the original.
Yeah, because I've
cartoon.
never seen the cartoons.
I've seen episodes. It's pretty good. It's basically the movie but less 80s music, and
So it's whack.
no, it's not whack. It's pretty good. I like it.
I don't know what else happened. I think the Sharkticons. I greatly expressed how stupid those were.
Even though they were super rad,
They were not that
They
rad.
just didn't look like sharks, and that's your problem.
They're also just funny looking. They're kind of doofy.
They were kind of doofy. But, I mean, I like it. I have a deep love for Transformers. I really do. And especially like growing up watching those other cartoons from the 2000s that I'm really into. Which I watched those recently. Some they don't, or they hold up, but like in some parts they don't hold up. Not like animation wise. It still looks good animation wise, but like
Also, like the kid really wanted. He was like, I want to fight too, and then the Autobots just like, yeah, all right.
well, yeah, they gave them an exosuit, which I thought was that's one of the coolest things in that movie is the exosuit that transforms.
What is this? Call of Duty? Oh.
No, because this came out in 1986, and Call of Duty with exosuits came out in like 2013.
It was a joke, Logan.
Anyways, but yeah, I always thought that was cool when I was a kid. The exosuit that transforms into a car.
And it was 2014.
I think that's super cool.
Did it turn into a car?
Yeah, he was. Or it doesn't like turn into a car, but it turns into like it drives. You can drive it. It's like a little pod car, I guess you could say, where you're like, yeah, you don't remember that? It was
Not
when
at
they were
all.
It was when they were on the junk planet. He transformed into a car.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's super cool.
Also, all the Junk Planet Transformers were Australian.
They were sort of Australian. Yeah.
That was really weird.
They talked in TV, which kind of
Which is kind of funny.
they kind of touched on that in the first Transformers movie when like Shia LaBeouf was like, "Wait, how do you guys speak English if you're not from Earth?" And they're like, "We learn our language through the World Wide Web." So it kind of like it's kind of a cool little correlation.
We watch tons of internet porn. Megatron. Watch porn with me. Wow. Wow. Nice.
Yeah. So overall, what would you give this movie on a scale of? All right, I'll give mine first because, so I give this movie, I'd say, 8.5 Matrix of Leaderships out of 10.
I'd say like Probably like 6.5 dead Transformers out of 10.
All right.
A lot of Transformers died in that movie.
A lot of Transformers did die in that movie. But yeah, so that's our review. I love this movie. Especially, I'm sure like some of you out there have watched it like growing up.
I'd never heard of
also
it,
loved it
until you mentioned it to me.
I love it. I mean, because especially since my dad, like growing up, he was really into that kind of stuff. He was a huge Robotech fan and all that kind of stuff. So I grew up watching all those kind of things. So yeah, I'm sure some of you have probably heard of it, and some of you have probably watched it, and maybe have the same opinion that I do, the same nostalgic feel.
Also, the DVD came in a PlayStation 2 disc,
Yeah,
which is really weird. Where did you get that?
I don't know. I think we've had that for years.
It has like it's just like a normal DVD box, but then you open it up and it has a PlayStation 2 memory card holder in it.
Yeah, it's really strange, but kind of cool.
I think it's cool, just in case you ever want to watch Transformers and then also play NFL Street 2 and have your memory card with you.
Totally. All right. Well, I think it's a good spot to end the episode. Thank you.
Yeah, this is more of a chill.
Yeah.
We didn't really go off. We just kind of talked about the movie.
Because this one doesn't make me angry like the last night did.
That is true.
You can definitely see the difference in energy between me talking about this movie and talking about the last night.
You were really salty.
Yeah. I was like sweating. It was bad.
I remember.
So yeah, thank you all for watching.
I hope this wasn't like worse than all the other ones, because we didn't take notes at all for this.
No, I didn't really have to. I didn't take notes for the last night either.
Oh yeah, I probably should have taken notes for this, but I was like, Logan will handle it.
So yeah, like, comment, subscribe. Tell us your opinion. What do you rate this movie?
Listen to our podcast in the shower.
Yeah, if you want.
Email this to your grandma.
Sure.
And your aunt.
Send it to Johnny Depp.
Send it to Aunt Sydney.
Johnny Depp might like it.
We have a poster of him in the bathtub.
For some reason. I wish that was a joke.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Bye
Bye
everybody.
everyone.
We love you.
Love you.